Hope everybody had a nice, long, relaxing weekend and are ready for this short, rainy week that we have. At least the rain held off until yesterday, and we got a nice Saturday and Sunday. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. I have just a very short list of items that I wanted to just cover as general updates with you guys before I go over to the Q&A. So please find the Q&A icon and start typing any questions that you might have into that Q&A icon, and then we'll pop over there to try to answer some questions this morning. The first thing I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of is last week's communication did go out on Friday. I know that was the end of the week, and apologies that that took so long, but we did get that out on Friday. I also did upload the reportable event, the paper form, to the Evergreen Help Center as well. It was attached to that emailed communication that went out, but that form can be used if individuals who do not have Evergreen access need to submit a reportable event, or if Evergreen is down for any reason and you need to submit a reportable event, that form can be used. So definitely make a copy available to yourself in case you need it at any time. I also wanted to circle back. I know last week on Monday when we met, I had indicated that we had started testing a new group of issues. I did want to circle back to that. I didn't share any information about what was being retested last week because I hadn't had a chance to look at that list. I can say that two of the big issues that are being retested this week are related to notifications. We are hoping to complete that testing and be able to turn some of those notifications back on by the end of this week. Everybody keep your fingers crossed on that. That's a pretty complicated and large volume of testing that we need to do there, but hopefully we'll be able to get those turned back on by this Friday. We are also retesting attachments. And some of the issues that we had with the person attachments, and FEI has created some fixes to the permissions for that. So we are retesting that. We've hit a few bumps already, so I can't make any promises that that will be done by this week, but we are at least continuing with the testing and hoping to get through that and be able to turn the attachments on soon. If not this week, hopefully sometime early next month, we would be able to turn those back on for you, but that's still underway. So a couple of really big items in testing right now. We also have a couple of other items that are in retest. So there was an issue for some of our internal staff with the QIDP signature on the comprehensive assessment on the skills and abilities section of that. That had failed retest in our last round, and FEI has worked on that again. So that is in retest again. There was also an issue that was reported related to the PCP agenda attachments not being displayed in the PCP form. That is also still in testing. And there was an issue related to the community case management care coordination role not being able to see the services and supports when they were inside of new goals and trying to link up the services and supports to those new goals. So that is also in retesting. And there is one issue related to APS report request for closure and not being able to when those APS reports are being requested for closure, not being able to put those investigations into the pending supervisor action status. So that is also still in retesting right now this week. So any of those items that do pass retesting can be part of our deploy on Friday night. We do have a production deploy planned on Friday evening. So again, no promises there. Anything, those might still fail retest. There might still be an issue pushing those to production on Friday, but those are the items that we are focused on for retesting right now. I know there are some other urgent issues related to the person-centered planning around still some issues with signatures. I know FEI has resolved some of the signature issues, but there are still some outstanding issues with signatures. We are still working with them to get them the details for that so that they can try to resolve the remaining issues related to person-centered planning and signatures. And I also know there are still some outstanding issues with the active equals yes for PCPs as well. I know FEI has resolved some of those issues, but there are still some scenarios where the appropriate plan is not reflecting active equals yes. That being said, I did want to touch a little bit on that topic specifically this morning. A couple of reminders for everybody. Number one is when you are going to work on a PCP as community case manager or care coordinator, it is really important that you go to the custom PCP list page. This is going to be very helpful to you in order to determine whether or not you have the right plan and that the right plan is showing up as active. So I am going to try to share my screen here really quick and just navigate to that page for you again, and show you how to do this. I know a lot of you already know how to do this, but I think it's a good refresher for those that are not as familiar with this. So let me share my screen really quick here. So when you're inside of your person's record, hopefully everybody can see my screen here, and you go to your forms and plans section of the person's record, you don't want to try to search for your PCPs from this, what is called the all forms list page. You want to always use this filter icon up here in the upper right-hand corner that looks like the upside down pyramid. You can find your PCPs from here, but it doesn't give you all of the information that your custom list page gives you. So you want to go to this filter icon up here. You want to select person-centered plans, and this is going to bring you to your custom person-centered plan list page. This is only going to show you person-centered plans, and it's going to show you the most recent PCPs at the top, and it's going to show you, it's going to be the easiest for you to find your active plan that way. So I'm in a record that has a lot of test plans, but you can see here that this is my active plan. It has my active equals yes. It's in a plan completed state. There were a lot of test PCPs that were done here that are in closed state. That's why there's so many between where my active plan is and where my open plans are. So these are my in progress plans. They do not show as active yet because they have not yet been completed. So they cannot show as active until they're completed, and depending on what their effective dates are as well. But this is my current active plan in this test record because it is completed and it has effective dates that are still active. So the effective date range was February 19th of 2024 to February 18th of 2025. So this will remain the active plan until February 19th, 2025, unless I complete another plan that also has that effective date range or a valid effective date range for today's date. Then that plan will become effective. The other thing that's important to know is depending on your Zoom, the Zoom of your application, like whether you have it 100% or 110% or something like that, you may not be seeing all these columns that I'm seeing. So this little, we like to refer to this as the barbed wire. This is your column sorter, but you may not, when you come to this page, you may not see your active column because you may have your Zoom set a little bit higher than mine. And in that case, you want to click on this little barbed wire and you want to click on your solemn quarter column sorter, and make sure that your active is checked here. Yours might look like this when you come in, and you might not be seeing it. So you want to make sure you select that so that you are seeing it. So that's all I just wanted to share with everybody there is just, again, to make sure that you're navigating here to find your correct PCP. Before I move off this topic, though, I did want to also share that Nancy and Udaya are also working on some informational screenshots there are a few different scenarios for active equals yes. Um, Again, in that scenario that I just showed you, you were seeing that there was a plan that was showing as active equals yes. There is a possibility that you would have no plans that are showing as active equals yes. And that is because you may have revised from your current active plan, and that plan may still be in progress. And you may have not completed that in progress plan before the effective date of your current plan expired. So your current plan's end date might have been yesterday, May 27th. And so that plan will then show up today as active equals no, because the end date was yesterday. So it is no longer an active plan. But you may have a plan in progress that you just need to capture the signatures on. And once you set that to complete, if you did that today, and that effective date was today, May 28th through May 27th of 2025, then once you set that to complete with the signatures and that effective date range, that one will now become the active plan. So there are a lot of different scenarios, and there are some valid reasons why you might not be seeing an active equals yes plan. But the other item that so we're going to try to put together some documentation for the few scenarios there, informational documentation for those scenarios, and share that out with you. I'll try to get that attached to this week's communication and also upload it into the Help Center. And then we can go over those scenarios at next Monday's meeting as well. But also in the meantime, I did want to just say that it is crucial, it is important that you do follow the person-centered plan process and you start working on your new annual plan at least 60 days in advance, or at a minimum 30 days in advance, but the process does typically take at least 60 days. You want to revise from your current active plan at least 60 days before that plan is due to expire, because you want to have a plan that's in progress so that you can complete that in progress plan and continue to have a plan that's active equals yes. Because if you don't have a plan that's in progress and your current active plan expires, the effective end date is in the past, you will end up with a scenario where you have no active plans and none in progress, and you have no choice at that point but to create another initial plan. You have nothing to revise from. There is no way to get that to be able to revise from. So you want to make sure that you are following the PCP process and that you are staging your next plan, revising from your active plan, and having that in progress plan before your current plan expires. So that's also really important. The other note that I just wanted to make everybody aware of, as we were testing through these remaining issues with these active equals yes plans, we did see some people that were, had like a in progress plan that was a change type PCP with a change reason of 90-day review. And it was sitting in the pending state review workflow. So I did want to make everybody aware, if you are not aware, if you're revising a PCP as a 90-day review and you're not changing waiver services, that PCP does not need to go through state review. So if you do have an active or an in progress plan that's sitting in that status, and you're not looking for any changes in waiver services, you're truly just doing your goal review and your standard 90-day review, you can advance that beyond the pending state review workflow process and finish that 90-day review change type. I also wanted to make people aware that when you revise as annual, so when you go from your current active plan and you revise to do your annual plan, the dates for that annual plan should increment by 1 year, but you want to make sure that they do. If they do not increment by a year, you need to manually edit those to the following year, because if you don't and you set that to complete with the current year, it won't set it as active yes, because the date will be in the past when you, or it may if you set it to complete before the effective end date, but it will quickly go to active equals no because you didn't increment those years up. But the system should be automatically incrementing that for you. But I did see at least one plan out there that looked like it was an in progress plan and the effective dates were still this plan year. So just be very conscious of that as well. So just a couple of tips there. We'll try to put those tips together as well in a document. And we'll also try to put together these informational scenarios, the scenarios that are valid where you might not have an active equals yes plan and why that would be, so that you can be aware of those. Did you want to add anything to that for this morning, Nancy?
No, the only thing I wanted to add was when we were talking about the 30 days prior to 60 days, at least 30 days, at least, trying 60 days. We're actually telling them 90 days right now
Yeah.
because to leave 30 days for classification. We're
Oh, okay.
hoping that will tighten up eventually, but 90
Okay.
days and then 30 days for classification. So 60 days
Yeah.
to complete the plan still, but that's in time to do classification.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so make sure you revise from your active plan at least 90 days before for your annual. That way you can do your PCP process in those first 60 days, and then you'll have the remaining 30 days for allowing time to get that classification in and everything to still be all set for the prior authorization. So perfect. Thank you. Awesome. So I think that was it for the general stuff. So let me pop over here. See, we do have some questions in the Q&A, so I'll do my best to answer those this morning. Just this one's just a reminder from staff. Thank you, staff. A reminder to folks who might submit a paper reportable event report. The follow-up reportable event template is also available in the Help Center. And you need to submit that one as well on paper if you submit your reportable event on paper. So thank you, Steph. That's a great reminder. They are both out there, and they're under the category of template, and they say fillable form. And one of them says reportable event form, and the other one says reportable event provider follow-up. So this is a question that says, can you help me understand the reason for the requirements for CCMs to download the PCP agenda from the plan and then upload the PCP agenda to the plan? Yeah, great question, Jennifer. So in the person-centered plan, there is a PCP template. That PCP template will auto-generate for you. It will have the standard agenda items that are required, the required items, and it will also populate with any of the additional agenda items that you captured in the PCP that the person wants to cover at their meeting. So it will be a comprehensive agenda. And the purpose for downloading it and then re-uploading it is that in case during the meeting any additional agenda items were covered that didn't happen to be captured on there, that's also an opportunity for you if you want to use that document as a way to capture all of the meeting participants' signatures. So that's why we did require you to re-upload a final version of the agenda. So that's the purpose there, is we really want to get whatever was the final agenda, and possibly if you're capturing any meeting attendee signatures on it, we'd like that uploaded. Question is, if there is a plan that is active and another plan that has a status of pending provider selection, is it okay to move the plan to complete on the pending provider selection plan, or can that cause a domino effect of issues? So if you have one that's already complete, plan completed, and it's active equals yes, and you have one that's in progress and the status is pending provider selection, once you've completed the process, I don't, there can be any plan can be in pending provider selection. So it will depend on what your scenario is, Troy. So if your plan that's in pending provider selection is a change type PCP and it has a change reason of 90-day review, you can move past pending provider selection and finish the plan and set it to complete, because you're not technically selecting providers when you're doing a 90-day review. If your PCP is a change type and it has a change reason of change in waiver service, and you are choosing new providers, then you would need to request those service implementation plans to be filled out by those providers. You need to review those service implementation plans when they're submitted with the person, select the provider. They'll select the provider, and then you'll need to add that provider to the waiver service, and then you would need to recapture signatures and set that to plan complete. If it's an annual plan, same thing. So in an annual plan, you're going to want to go through your whole PCP process. You're going to want to have your meeting. You're going to want to go through your state review of your plan. You're going to want to then invite providers to submit their service implementation plans. You're then going to want to review those service implementation plans, set those to plan implemented, add those selected providers to the waiver services, capture the signatures, finish the survey, and then you can move it into plan completed. So it really depends on your scenario. But pending provider selection is your final status before you go to plan completed. And your completion requirements should help when you get to that status, should help you know what you need to complete in order to set that plan into that plan complete status. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah. Only one scenario that you did not cover there is the one that when plans migrated in, there may be people have multiple
Oh,
plans
thank
in
you.
pending provider selection.
Thank you.
And I'll let you go if you want to speak to that.
Yeah. So yeah, there may have been in EIS, there may have been multiple plans that were in an in progress status that migrated into Evergreen in that pending provider selection status. Yes, you can set those to plan completed if that's appropriate, or you can also set them to closed if that's more appropriate. So if you have a scenario where some of those are plans that would have preceded your current active plan, it's more appropriate to set those ones to closed than to plan completed. And that's because you don't want those ones to now become your active plan, because they don't have the most current information. They're older versions. So if they're older versions than your current active plan, then go ahead and set those to closed. If you're confused or you're concerned about your scenario, you can always email evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov and ask us, and we can give you some guidance on that too. But truly, if they're like older versions, go ahead and set those to closed. If it's a newer version that should be set to plan completed and now become the active plan, then yes, you should set those ones to plan completed. Thanks, Nancy. Okay, so this question is there an update on the possibility of the PCP process comprehensive assessment window being extended to 90 days instead of 60 to account for the wait times for state review and reclassification? I had exchanged several emails regarding this. It was likely to happen. I haven't heard. So, yeah, sorry, Victoria, that I had just shared. I guess that the guidance is that we are recommending 90 days at this point. I don't think that it's officially been changed to, that you do have to do it 90 days in advance, but that is definitely the guidance. I think that would really make everybody's lives a little bit less stressful if you're able to start those plans 90 days in advance. Another reminder to everybody, ensure that you are updating the comprehensive assessment before creating the PCP so that the new information will migrate over and clean up the contacts. And make sure you clean up the contacts as well in the person record before you start all that. Yeah, so if you need a comprehensive assessment, so if you're doing an annual plan, definitely do your comprehensive assessment first. That way, all of your needs, strengths, barriers, those will flow into your PCP before you create your PCP. Also, if you're doing a change type where there's a significant change, person moved, person's guardian change, person's seeking brand new, has whole new needs that are seeking new services, definitely do a comprehensive assessment to capture those needs and that information before you do your change type for that significant change. But also to Bonnie's point, before you even start your comprehensive assessment, always go into your person record and review your person record. Make sure that critical pieces of the person record look correct, that their date of birth looks correct, that their A number looks correct, that their contacts look correct, and that you have their, if they have a private guardian, that's on there. If you have like individuals that, you want to be showing up in your as individuals that participate in their person-centered planning process, that they're added, those types of things, that all of that's there before you start your comprehensive assessments, that all that flows in nicely and displays properly in your comprehensive assessment, and then subsequently also displays nicely in your PCP. There's a question regarding 90-day. If a change is for 90-day, and change to non-waiver addition for like net services, does this need to be submitted for state review? Good question. I don't know, Alexi. I don't believe that has to go to state review, but I don't know if somebody that knows better than I wants to respond.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was it again?
If they're doing a change to a PCP for non-waiver services, like net services, that does not require state review, right?
I don't believe so. It's just waiver services.
Just waiver services. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Alexi.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just waiver services require that state review. So if you're doing a change to a PCP change type and you're doing change in services and supports, but it's community, natural supports, non-waiver services, case management, those don't require state review. Just when you're selecting waiver service or self-directed service, those ones will require state review.
Leslie,
And-
can I just add that can you just go over which part of the PCP that triggers those notifications in case they forget to update the status, but they also choose yes on change in waiver services? That's what, are you going to bring that up?
I
Okay.
was just gonna say that in those scenarios, those particular scenarios, when you get to the question of are there changes to the waiver services, which just follows the service and support section, your answer is going to be no, so that it does not trigger a state review.
When you do non-waiver,
right, case management,
support,
yes,
case management, yeah, you're gonna want to make sure that you do not. So I'm gonna share my screen really quick to show this. Hopefully.
Because by choosing those change types, it's going to give you that question. And if you answer yes, it's going to throw notifications that needs to be reviewed. And we'll let you complete the plan.
Show this on here. So down here in your My Life Planning section of your PCP, you'll add all of your services and supports here. So if you add a service or support with a type of case management, community natural resources, non-waiver, then on any of those types, when you get to, and only those types, if you're doing a change PCP with only those types of services, then when you get to this change in waiver services section of the plan, you'll want to answer no to are there any changes to waiver services that impact service authorizations. You're going to want to say no so that does not trigger a notification. If, however, you were doing a change type, change in services, and you were adding or editing waiver service type or self-directed service type, then when you get here, you're going to want to say yes. That will trigger the notification so that the resource coordinators know that they need to review that. And if you say yes, you need to describe in detail what you did to the waiver services. Either I added this waiver service, or I increased the units for this existing waiver service, or whatever changes that you did. You need to clearly describe those here so that your resource coordinator knows what changes you made to the service waiver services or self-directed services so that they can review that. Excellent. Let me go back here and see what we've got. So the next question is, are we supposed to be getting signatures for the people at the meeting? So that's a great question. That depends on the scenario and the person that you're talking about. So if you have meeting attendees that are other than the person or the guardian that you were there at the meeting and you want to capture their signature, then you probably should capture those at the meeting. You can also capture the person's signature, the guardian signature, and your own signature at the meeting if you choose to in the meeting signatures. There's two sets of signatures. So if you want to capture signatures of the person, yourself, guardian at the meeting, you can capture those in the meeting section. But you won't be able to capture the person's plan signature or the guardian's plan signature or your plan signature until you've completed the plan, which will happen after the meeting, after the state review, after SIPs have been reviewed, providers have been selected, those have been added to the PCP, you've done the survey, then you'll capture those plan signatures. So those ones would probably have to be done outside of the meeting because you're going to have to wait for the state review and get all of your SIPs completed and all that stuff. But you can capture signatures in the meeting signatures section if you'd like for those individuals. And you definitely, it would be recommended that you do for any other participants because you're probably not going to interact with those individuals after the planning team meeting. Oh yeah, so Troy, thanks Nancy for jumping in. That was the scenario that Troy was describing. Another piece of information for people regarding contacts: when a parent or someone else has multiple roles, like guardian, rep payee, emergency contact, you can indicate the relationship as mother, father, and then you can multi-select the roles so that you only have to have that single contact for that individual rather than having all kinds of different separate contacts. That's a great piece of information, Bonnie, that I'll actually try to share my screen and show that as well. So in here in the contact section, maybe. When you create a contact, so if I was Terry's mother, I could put in Leslie Duck. I could type. And I can select the relationship possibly. Of mother, because I'm Terry's mother. But then I can have multiple roles as Terry's mother. So I could be Terry's power of attorney, I could be the caregiver, I could be emergency contact, I could be next of kin, I could be private full guardian, I could be supported decision maker. I don't know if I can actually rep payee. Um, but anyway, you get the point here. I could be a communication ally. Like I could have multiple roles. And then that way, I only have to be listed once on Terry's record, and anywhere that guardian needs to show up, I would still show up. Anywhere that emergency contact needs to show up, I would still show up. So that it's going to pull me into all of the correct forms based on this selection here. I could be the medical monitor, whatever. So yeah, that's where you're going to want to do that so that you're not having duplicate entries for me as the mother. Great, great reminder, Bonnie. Thank you. So I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Like I said, we will work on the informational document related to the different active equals yes scenarios, because there are valid scenarios where you would not be seeing an active equals yes. And I want you to understand what those are and how to make sure that you're revising from your plans in an appropriate manner of time so that you don't get yourself into a scenario where they're all active equals no in plan completed. Because once you get to that situation, if they're all plan completed, closed, and active equals no, you then have no choice but to create an initial. And we don't want you to have to do that. So we'll be working on that. We'll try to get that out with this Friday's communication. This week's communication likely won't go out until Friday again because of the short week. And some other items going on here with trying to prepare for our deploy on Friday. But yeah, everybody have a wonderful rest of your week. In spite of the rain, hopefully you get a lot done, and we will talk to you again next week. Next week is the last week that we do have this meeting scheduled for. I will also discuss that internally to see if we want to extend that just a little bit, but I do feel like we are getting to a much better place where the types of information that are coming in and the types of questions that are coming in are more individual, unique scenarios, and there haven't been a ton of questions coming through in this meeting here, but we'll definitely let you know at next week's meeting whether they're going to be extending this series at all. And also just as another reminder, we are going to be coming out with that new issue submission form. We did meet about that last week. We are making the final touches on that, so hopefully we'll be rolling that out as well soon. So that will be another good way for you to ask your questions. And so this call may not be necessary anymore once that form is available as well. So everybody have a great week, and more to come with this week's communication on Friday. And we'll definitely see you on Monday of next week. Bye-bye.